is our fourth one I think we've run. Is that right, Oscar?
Yeah.
And this is our largest to date. So thank you to all the community organizers that have put this in place. And just so you know, our strategy for this event, we at ComCorp took about a journey. About 2.5 years ago, I started with the organization. And around the same time, in fact, it was 2 weeks after the COVID pandemic hit is when I started this job. So my timing was incredible. But it was incredible timing in terms of really being at a place and a time to make a real impact. And what we did is we took a step back and we took a breath for about the first 6 or 7 months while I got to know the organization, met with a lot of different community leaders, and it gave us a chance to start and really intentionally think about our strategy. And we put together a strategic plan that took over 12 months to put together. And if you go online, you'll see that diversity, equity, and inclusion is the foundation of our plan, and it has to be. If you look at the disconnect between the underemployed and how COVID has disproportionately hurt underserved communities, and underserved communities that have historically experienced racism and a lack of investment, now is the time to act. And we have historic levels of funding that for me are so important in terms of bridging that gap and using workforce to be that great equalizer to train and upskill individuals that want to work into jobs, but not just any jobs, jobs that provide a pathway. So 2 years ago, we started the journey, and we put equity at the corner and the foundation of what it is we do. And our overall mission is to foster workforce equity in Massachusetts by delivering innovative and collaborative professional development solutions that help diverse communities and employers succeed. And we do it in 3 different ways. One is we invest in the future. And that's with programs like YouthWorks. And those programs are for underserved youth throughout the state of Massachusetts. We start at 14 years old, go all the way up to 25. And it's really about getting them and engaging them and getting them to think about work and the potential and the possibilities. Then we have programs around developing an immediate pipeline. And those are the programs that we're going to focus in on today. They really are for and underemployed in Massachusetts. Programs like the Workforce Competitiveness Trust Fund, a mouthful, but it's a program that when I started 2 years ago had $2 million in it, $86 million in that program today over the next 3 years. And what I'm going to be doing today is challenging all of you to think about, how do I get at that money? What do I need? What are the partnerships I need? What are the resources that I need? Because the state has put them in place. And our jobs, and why we're here today, is to figure out how we get you that access to those equity. And then we also have programs for incumbent workers, our Workforce Trust Fund program and the Express program, and those are for incumbent workers. And the Express program for small businesses, I urge you to go online. And it's an example of our success in terms of outreaching, talking to community members, figuring out why aren't people using that fund. So we made some changes to the Express Fund and made it simpler. What we heard is small businesses, and those are small and micro businesses we consider under 100 employees. It's now 100% reimbursable. And we made those changes a year ago, and that fund is up 340%. Again, that's why we do the sessions that we're doing today, to come out to the community, to listen, and to understand the barriers of access. So our vision is to create a world where meaningful employment can lead to the upward mobility for all. And I'm proud to say that last year we touched over 20,000 workers. And investing in workforce is not just about the employers investing in their business. It's about investing in all of you. And when you do that, the results are pretty significant. If you look at the Workforce Trust Fund over the last 3 years, it experienced 8.2% growth in fiscal year 21. That compares to 6.1% for the US and 3.3% for Massachusetts. And year after year after year, we see the same thing. What does that say? If you invest in your employees, you're investing in your business, you're investing in your community, you're investing in the state of Massachusetts. It's the right thing to do. So why are we here today? Well, our most recent unemployment rates are pretty good, 3.6%. That is, if you are, black or brown, 5%. Hispanic and Latino, almost double that at 6.9%. Yes, there's been a recovery, but yes, it's been unequitable. And we need to change that. When we go out, one of the things that we hear most is that employers are looking for talent. Yet we see so many and underemployed looking for jobs and looking for opportunities. And there's a gap. Filling that gap is going to require us all thinking differently. For employers that are used to, I need this certification or I need this degree, they need to relook at their job descriptions because a degree does not provide the potential. And a lot of times, in fact most times, it's a barrier to entry. So looking at the job descriptions and challenging ourselves, challenging our employers to look at their talent pool differently. And also looking at workforce development as a possible solution. Because we have a ton of underemployed that can help them in diversifying their workforce, but they may need a little bit extra, and that's where we come in. Because we provide jobs, the training for those jobs, but most importantly, that wraparound service and support to ensure the success of all those that participate. And when I started a couple of years ago with ComCore, I looked at that fund and I thought, wow, that is the fund for today. If you look at post-pandemic, that's what we need. But there's only $2 million in it. Well, the Workforce Skills Cabinet and Charlie Baker, and the governor and the lieutenant governor had the same thought. Because that fund today is $86 million. And again, your job today, your job over the next few years is to figure out how to access that. And I will say that there is a sense of urgency because a lot of this funding is ARPA funding, which means that in the next 2 to 3 years, those funds are going to be gone. And if we don't make change happen now, we're missing a huge opportunity. The Future of Work report that the governor commissioned that was released about 6 months ago said that between 100 and 300,000 workers in the next 10 years are going to have to be reskilled or upskilled. 100 to 300,000. We've never seen numbers like that because of the changing dynamics of work. If we don't prove now that this works, and it does, we've seen it in the numbers, but what we need to do is ensure that we show it in the scale and show it in the impact. And that's for all of us to do it together. And our focus has been on the historically underserved communities, and we're really reaching out, doing a lot of outreach to small minority and women-owned businesses, so that we can understand both the barriers of access as well as helping for us to inform a more equitable recovery. So the number that I want you to think about, and I mentioned the 86 million, but if you look at the money that's been allocated by the Baker and Polito administration for workforce development over the next 3 to 4 years, $240 million. $240 million. That's worth all of us changing how we partner, how we collaborate, not just going in as a small entity, but working. The Baker and Polito administration, working with the Workforce Skills Cabinet, has spent a lot of time this past year thinking about the infrastructure, because I've kind of likened it to a little bit like putting an elephant through a straw. When you're dealing with a $2 million program and all of a sudden it's $86 million, yeah, it's a good problem to have. However, it is a problem, and putting the right infrastructure in place and the support in place to help all of you to navigate, to help all of us to think differently in terms about how we form the partnerships that are going to be necessary to access this money and create the impact and create the scale. Well, market makers have been put in place. And we have a woman here today, Joanna Matus. And Joanne should be one of your new best friends because Joanne is the local market maker. And she is one of the resources that have been put in place to help all of you to navigate the very wonky world of workforce development. So we've put the infrastructure in place with market makers, and for employees, we have a position called the Upskill Navigators to help them as they come in, look for jobs, opportunities, again, focusing in on the underemployed for the wraparound services and support. How else are we doing this? Well, we're doing a lot of outreach right here today. So we're looking at how do we use community? How do we build up from the community? Because let's face it, you know a lot more than we do what your needs of the community are. And we need to get out and we need to listen to you. And we need to leverage your contacts, your connections, and your networks. And this is, we have 9 series. This is called Lead the Change, Minority and Women-Owned Businesses. 2 for Black and Brown. We had our first in Springfield. We've had 2 for Hispanic and Latinx. I was just at one in Lawrence last week. We've got 1 for LGBTQIA+, and we've got 1 for women-owned businesses, 1 for veteran, 1 for disabled. So again, we're using demographic data to kind of identify, okay, where should we be going? Where can we make the most impact? And then partnering with community leaders to bring all of you here today, and what a job that they have done to bring in 70 people into this room to start thinking about how we together lead the change. And last but not least, data. We're getting better at using data. We're getting more, not getting better at using data, we're getting more data. You know, we're state entities. So data has not been something that has been at our fingertips. I came from private industry, and that's, you know, we were overrun by data. We're getting better at it. But until we get the data, we're gonna really need all of you to help us, to guide us, and to tell us what we need to do differently. So with that, I'm looking forward to the conversation today. And I hope that we all can work together to lead the kind of change that's going to be necessary to use the $240 million that is out there to close the equity gaps. And I thank you for your support as we identify and dismantle historic and existing barriers to create long-term economic opportunity and access for all. So again, my thanks to you all, and I look forward to a great conversation.
I see a lot of familiar faces, some new faces as well. It's great, again, to be here and really be part of organizations and partners that are committed to create space for these conversations, building a more sustainable and equitable small business. I see a lot of women-owned business here, minority. I think I'll start with you, Algeria. How is your organization supporting Black and Brown community?
As Rob mentioned, we are the Supplier Diversity Office. Am I loud enough? Can everyone hear me, or do I need this mic? You hear it? Is it on?
Yeah, it is on.
Can you hear me now? Got that. Okay, so I work for the Supplier Diversity Office, and as Rob mentioned, the Supplier Diversity Office certified minority, veteran, women and disabled-owned businesses, etc., for the opportunity to bid on government contracts. So our certification is like an invitation for this particular process. What we do at the Supplier Diversity Office is not only certify, but we now have gone from 12 to about 30 staff persons. We've created a compliance office. I'm a part of the new team engagement, where we kind of engage with our certified vendors. We conduct outreach. We network with our state agencies. We kind of make sure we gather all these resources that are necessary for our diverse business to move forward with bidding on government contracts. Also, what we do in the Supplier Diversity Office is we created other systems. We have two systems I want to kind of point out. One is the Hopkins system, and what that particular system is, am I too far?
No, yeah, too far.
Too far, okay. So we have the Hopkins system, and that system is a matchmaking system that will match our diverse businesses with prime vendors. Another system we have is the Hub, and the Hub was where our state agencies are reporting and spend. The Supplier Diversity Compliance Office is our compliance team is able to kind of monitor the spend that state agencies are having with our diverse vendors. Our diverse vendors are also able to go in and report and view what spend is with them. At this point, I think I kind of touched base with a few, and I want to make sure I'm touching base. I want to be honest, I'm very nervous. So, I'm trying to make sure I recall everything that's very important on what we do in our agency. So when it comes back to me, if I forget, I'll make sure I bring it up again. But again, just in summary, we certify, we have compliance to watch the spend that with our certification. We have the engagement team that kind of stay close and touch base with our minority businesses. We, again, conduct outreach, and we want to be able to provide the necessary resources by connecting with like BECMA and other diverse organizations that provide these necessary resources. We're not in the business of recreating the wheel, so our goal is to again connect and network and create these partnerships that that kind of supply these type of information. Thank you.
Hi, Tracy.
Hi. Okay, so first I'm going to give a disclaimer. I'm very new to this role. I started 5 months ago. So we're a coalition for an equitable economy, and we're a broad cross-sector coalition of stakeholders from across the state, and so we are a statewide organization. That's why I'm here. I drove an hour and 40 minutes to be here in Brockton. First time here, so I'm glad to be here. Thank you. And we share a commitment to build an equitable small business ecosystem that values racial equity, collaboration, and shared leadership. We're a coalition of entrepreneurs, business resource organizations, business and government leaders, capital and financial partners, capacity builders, and advocates. I'm just going to read our mission. Our mission is to ensure equitable access to capital, business networks, education, small business technical support, and other resources for Black, Latinx, immigrant, low-income, and historically under-resourced communities, small business owners in Massachusetts. We want to dismantle racist structures that prevent investment and growth in diverse businesses. So in a nutshell, we formed because during COVID, like everyone else in 2020, we formed because there were small businesses that didn't have access to the PPP loan. A lot of it was because someone mentioned they just wasn't ready. They didn't have the accounting software, taxes weren't done. They didn't have the legal backing, the HR wasn't together. So just a lot of barriers for the Black and Latino population specifically, and I'm going to be very specific because that is our core target. They didn't have those technical supports in place. And so what the coalition did was formed, and we have a great coalition of funders. We have investors, we have banks. BECMA is a coalition member, and BECMA is also our fiscal conduits. Thank you, BECMA. Yes, that deserves a round of applause. And so we come together to ensure that your small businesses have access to the capital that you need to grow and scale your businesses. And so we are new. We're in our strategic planning phase right now. So hopefully next year we will have some programs available for you. But right now, our business partners have programs, and they are developing great investment tools that's specific for Black and Latino populations, immigrants as well, and low income. So, when people talk about women and LGBTQ, they're in all these races. So we don't necessarily specify that, but they're in all these races, so no one is excluded, not even white business owners. everyone is included, but we have a specific focus on Black and Latino because the racial wealth gap between those populations and white people, and white small businesses, is so large that we need to figure out how we're gonna close that racial wealth gap. I have so much I can say, so I am going to stop right there. I'll wait for questions and answers. I'll take a pause, and I'll pass the mic.
So I'm one of the co-owners of Brockton Beer Company. You listed off a number of things that, like, in my mind, it just went right back to trauma, because I remember a lot of those things that we were dealing with as we started as a business. We've been in business for about 3 years. We've just opened our tap room 2 blocks over 3, 4, 5 months ago. I can't even tell time. It's back in June. And, you know, obviously we went through a lot of struggles to get where we are, but, you know, we are excited to be where we are right now in terms of helping revitalize the downtown area for downtown Brockton. You know, for what we've been doing for the community for Black and Brown, like, honestly, if you come to our, how many of y'all been to the tap room, first of all? Have you? Okay, yeah, I see some familiar faces. So you know, as you come in and you look at the space, not even our patrons who look like you, it's a very inclusive space for people to not only just drink beer. I mean, beer, I think, in the space that we have is just really a tool for facilitating conversations that allow for people to potentially start a business or potentially talk about other things like networking. But it's not also just the patrons, it's also the people that we hire. We are hiring people of color, we are hiring women who are largely underrepresented in the craft beer industry. I mean, if you look at the numbers, Massachusetts, I believe, is about 225 craft beer breweries in the state. There are only 5 Black-owned. If you look harder for the people who are actually working, you probably won't see anybody that looks like Black or brown. So we make a conscious effort to make sure that it's also inclusive for our workers. And that's not an easy thing to do because we're not a bar, we're a brewery. And in a new craft beer industry, a new craft beer location, it's hard for people to understand the difference between a bar and a brewery. And a brewery is a place that you come together, you learn about the community, you talk and have conversations with people. So how do you hire for that if people don't have that experience, right? You have bartenders out there, but we don't have bartenders, we have beer tenders. We have people who are going out and talking to you about why the beer is made and what is the intention around the beer, why is it named this way, etc. So training and getting people, like for us, it's finding people who are underrepresented, but also finding good human beings, period. We start with that, and then the rest is, we can teach you everything about beer. That's what we're doing right now for our community. So I'm not gonna continue, I can go on and on for days, especially if I have a beer, you know what I'm saying? But that's just to sort of answer your question, I think. Yeah, and I'll move on.
Yeah. That African Americans still face a lot of like obstacles in advancement, more than other groups. It's less likely for African Americans to get hired, developed, and promoted. I know, Tracy, you've mentioned a lot of the work that you've been doing in hiring and promoting your employees. So my question would be, what are the things that you're doing to prioritize your organization's employee experience?
Okay, I just want to clarify, I have one employee, so he happens to be a Black male, but I have one employee, so we are still in the beginning stages of the organization and we will be hiring. So basically we just got to look at the quality of the person that comes in, right? When I worked in West Springfield, it was a difficult place for me because 98% of the staff was white. And it was uncomfortable to walk in there every day. I had to put on this face, I had to pretend, and that's just not who I am, so I started working from home on my own because I couldn't do that every day. And so one thing that they would do is they would look at Indeed. You know, you can't tell a person, except by their name, you know, what they bring to the table, right? And so when I would look at who was coming in, I was like, wow, everybody's white. Everybody's white. Why is that? Are you just looking at the names? Are you going to where people of color are to recruit that way? And so one thing that I will be very conscious about is making sure that we go to where all people are. So community colleges, out to the communities. They never had events that they would go to the communities and just do interviewing and go through a process like that. And I'm like, Well, if you're just going by the names, you are discriminating against a lot of people, and you're missing a lot of talent, because bringing in diverse talent brings in new and different ideas. And so that is something that I'm definitely committed to. It was a very, very hard job to be in, because it feels like you against the world, and no one wants to feel like that. Like, I want to come in and bring my true self and wear my hair up, down, braids, weave, wigs, whatever I want to be that day, that's who I want to come in as, and then you get looked at in certain ways. And so we got to make sure that we go through training that prepares all of us for differences. You know, we gotta learn about each other and just appreciate and respect each other for who we are as individuals, and not based on the color of our skin or our sexual preference or anything like that, just based on the work that we do and what we bring to the table. And so that's something that I'm committed to doing.
Thank you. That's awesome. So it's gonna be the same question, especially thinking about, like, for the food industry, there's a lot of turnovers. So how are, as a leader, what are some of the experiences you are providing to your employees, making sure you are retaining, training, and hiring?
Not much right now. I mean, it's difficult. I mean, it is difficult right now to find. I mean, it's not hard to find good people. It's hard to keep them, and really providing a level training. Like for instance, for Brockton Beer, we have a high standard that we have to abide by. Not even in just the quality of the beer, but also we are a brew pub, so we have a full kitchen. The quality of the food has to be on point. I know, Cynthia, you're out here. You guys, you've been out here for so long, and you know this. You have the name Brockton attached to you. People have a feeling towards that you don't provide anything of quality. We go above and beyond that. And so for us, it's high standards in terms of not even the quality of the beer and the food, but also our service. It is very important that people who walk through the door for the first time, because we are bringing a lot of foot traffic from not only our own community, but from outside, who are like, downtown Brockton, and then, you know, when they come in, it's like, our standard is so high, we want to make sure that you feel above and beyond what you've ever felt before. And so trying to help try to level up our employees, our team members to be in that mindset and that mind frame is very different, because they don't always see the vision you do as an owner, right? It's like, you've got this thing up here, it's like, everybody's gotta be treated like such and such, you know, all this service, whatever, and they're just like, I just need a job, you know? And I think what helps in this situation, especially we have a lot of Black and brown faces at our establishment, is they see someone like us that looks like them, that's actually doing it, and what drives them to do that. And so when we do talk to them about standards, we also include why we're telling you to do this. Like, why is this so important? What does this mean for all of us? And it's like, it's not just the job. You are a part of this team. You are a part of what's happening. You're a part of the history that's being built right here in downtown. So we can go with that for now, but honestly, keeping people and the training is still something that we desperately need help with, right? It's just not something that's easy. But that's the foundation of what we use right now to try and get us through for today.
And thank you for sharing that. And I think the more we create spaces for these conversations, the better we understand the support that business owners really need. So as a Black and brown, as a leader, as a business leader, how do you identify, how your identity influenced what you find to be successful, what a successful employee experience is, and what sets you up? How does that influence the employee experience, and how does that set you apart?
Okay, so for me, I don't have staff, again, but I would say this, that my identity itself kind of influenced not only the my experience with the staff that I work with, but also the businesses that I work with. I feel like I can connect with them. There's a lot of relation there. I can identify a lot of the barriers that they've been through, and kind of try to be able to break that. Within our agency, it's very diverse. We have, again, over almost 30 staff employees. We have Hispanic, we have Ethiopian, we have Asian, and with that, we kind of spread out the duties. Although there's titles labeled on each, everyone can be responsible for whatever action they want to take in order to be able to allow our agency to grow. Such as me being here today. I'm not a trainer, I'm not a presenter, but I'm here in this position. This is the opportunities that our agency allow each one of us as individuals to be able to go out and explore and be able to connect with, like I said, our communities. So internally and externally, we kind of, myself, I should say, I kind of make sure that, you know, when working with other colleagues, it's all inclusive, you know what I mean? We talk about diversity and we talk about fitting in, but we talk about inclusion, but what is really inclusion, you know what I mean? And I think for the most part, we want to make sure that inclusion is everyone being involved, everyone coming to the table, putting their ideas to the table. Having these Black and brown Hispanics at the table is more innovative, you know what I mean? We have a broader idea of where we're going. We can connect to a much larger community. The opportunity for our business to grow and expand, gather more resources. So with that, you know, we, again, internally and externally, we kind of work with the diversity, we kind of make sure it's abroad. Internally, we work amongst each other, allow each other to be able to explore different avenues. Again, don't label each other with titles, but yet explore what our skill sets are. What is our niche? We go out and we go for it. But for the most part, we want to make sure we connect with our communities, folks like you, to make sure that it's not just the training department or the compliance department or the certification department that can communicate and have you understand what we do. But as an individual, we want to connect personally, and we only can do that if we can relate to our constituents.
Yes. Thank you, the business community. Where are some of the opportunities you see for growth?
I'm going to say since the pandemic, throughout the pandemic, in the most recent months, I find that technical assistance is one of the biggest growths in the area, and then we're also with the going green. We find that there's a lot of businesses that are starting to go into the, correct me, office here, right? Oh, into the green energy. So we want to go into the energy. So there are not a lot of minority businesses in this field, but there are a lot of resources out there to get these minority businesses into this field. To kind of, so we mentioned during the pandemic where there were a lot of businesses that kind of fell, you know what I mean? A lot of businesses, they only had this one thing they did. They might have had two. They didn't know how to expand the services that they rendered. And with all the resources that are out there right now that we're trying to make sure that we collect and be able to provide and put it out there for all of these businesses, they would be able to kind of obtain this information, educate themselves, and expand their businesses by providing these types of services. So when it comes to the green energy and the technical assistance, I think those are the biggest fields. Construction is always a big field when it comes to, you know, the industry, but those two particular, I would say, is where the businesses will be able to grow right now.
Okay, thank you for sharing, because I know, like, through the pandemic, Black and brown communities have been disproportionately affected, but I think the good part of it is that a lot of resources, a lot of different efforts came through as new opportunities for business to scale as well. So Tracy, I think I'll do the same question. What are the biggest opportunities for growth you see for communities to scale and grow?
So the Coalition for an Equitable Economy just did a small business survey, and so we surveyed over 3,000 small businesses in Massachusetts, and some of the small businesses didn't even know what technical assistant was. So we definitely need technical assistance, I agree with you, to just get businesses where they need to be able to obtain capital. Now, capital access, that's gonna be my next barrier. So we know that when businesses of color go in for loans, they're redlined, they're stereotyped, racist acts toward them. I've been through it myself. I'm also a small business owner and a city councilor and an executive director. So I've been through all of these challenges and as a woman. And so we know that when we go into apply for loans and things, we're less likely to be approved. We're less likely to get the full amount that we're asking for. And all this is in the survey. So this isn't things that I'm making up. You can go on the coalition's website, you can get the survey results. And so one thing that a solution is that we need to make sure that some of these funders and lenders hire folks that look like us, right? Have to hire folks that look like us so that there are not these biases and prejudice against folks coming in to apply for loans. So access to capital, but also knowing what different type of capital resources are out there. Like when I joined the coalition, they were talking about equity and debt and all these different tools of funding sources that are out there besides grants. Because when I talk to small businesses of color, they're like, well, no, I don't want this loan. I want a grant. And no, listen, there are innovative ways to structure funding to grow and scale your business. Another barrier, and I can list a lot, but I'm gonna just leave with this last one, is ownership to real estate. Like, a lot of times we rent from others, and that improves their economic valuation, right? When we should be owning some of the real estate, but another barrier to that is the access to capital. We don't have the funding, we don't have the generational wealth. We cannot, a lot of times, go to family members and say, can you loan me this? Can we borrow this? We don't have, maybe we don't own our own homes to take the equity out of our own properties. And then we don't know how to obtain it. Sometimes you don't need to own your home to obtain these properties, but you do need a cash flow statement. They do want to see that you have the right amount of cash that you're generating to be able to pay loans back or to be able to get this equity, because equity can be risky. So people are taking risk in your investment and not necessarily saying when you have to pay it back. Like, you don't have to pay it back. It's not structured exactly like a loan. But we don't know these different avenues of funding sources that we can obtain. And I'm just learning them too. I'm not gonna pretend that I know everything, but I do research and I'm gonna find out, and I'm gonna bring this information to all of you in Brockton, in Springfield, in Boston, and throughout the state of Massachusetts, because that's what I'm here to do. And so I want you guys to go to the Coalition of Equitable Economies website and sign up. Although we're going through our strategic planning process right now, next year we'll be in a better position, but there are some of our partners that's creating investment vehicles to give you all equity, and they send those resources to me. They send whatever technical assistant programs they have. These are free resources to you all too. And so when you sign up, we'll send you emails for these programs that come along. So I think technical assistance, capital access, and ownership to real estate would be my top 3.
Thank you. And I'm especially thinking it's even harder for startups, people thinking about starting their own business. So you can take it next.
After that, I'm sitting there like, what? I'm trying to write notes because you dropping dimes over here.
Sign up.
I forgot the question.
What are the biggest opportunities for growth for our community when it comes to scaling and growing a business?
Yeah, y'all touched on a lot of good things. I think from our perspective as a business that's providing a product, it's twofold. It's mentorship and collaboration, and I think amongst ourselves as small businesses, working together as small businesses. Like, I still don't forget the day we opened up. Lady CJ, you were right there in our kitchen serving out food for people. You know, I think it's important for us to, you know, what is the saying? Rising tide lifts all ships, kind of thing, right? So we work together to make sure the community rises up, and I think it's important for us to do that. So for me, it's not just a collaboration also, but like when we do find out about these new programs, do we turn around and go speak to others, like, hey, you need to take advantage of this, because it's for the greater good. As we rise up, this is great. It's gonna help us all out, especially for someone like us in Brockton Beer, where, you know, it is part of a revitalization project, so there are other investors that are looking to come in. There's all this construction that's happening. We all gotta put our best foot forward.
Thank you. And opportunities. Thinking about how can we tear down some of these barriers. Any insights?
Well, I think forums like this, so thank you Commonwealth Corporation and partners, forums like this to create awareness on what's out there And we also got to tell the truth. We got to tell the truth about our experiences and what we've been through and what we're going through, because probably like half of us in this room are going through the same thing. And so we're not talking about it and telling the truth, and this is my political hat too. If we're not talking about it and telling the truth, we're not gonna know. We can advocate on a policy level for the changes. That's why your department was created, because we knew that even when I went for my MBE, I mean, what you have to go through is so hard, and there was no one to hold my hand and take me along. You would have like programs where you can come to an information session and you could learn everything in an hour, but when you leave, you're kind of like on your own. And so it's great to have a resource now that you can call when you get stuck at a point. And so we gotta advocate, we gotta look at what they're doing on a legislative level. You know, we gotta see what's happening in politics, because that's where the funding sources come from, the federal, state, and local level. So it's important to make sure that we know what's going on and where the funding sources are at. Like, I came in, and because I had a political connection when I joined this company, I applied for an earmark of $500,000, and in a week, I got it. I was there 1 week, and everybody was like, how'd you do that? How'd you do that? How'd you do that? Well, I'm a politician, number one, and number two, I went for it. And so sometimes we just gotta go for it. We can't be scared. We can't let, oh, I don't have my accounting software up and running yet, so I'm not gonna apply for it. No, you apply for it, and if you can't get it because of that, there's always an avenue where someone can refer you to someone who can help you get that. There's a program called Small Business Strong, so I want you guys to look that up, Small Business Strong. I'm gonna give y'all a little bit of nuggets.
I saw the term.
Small Business Strong. And even BECMA, if you don't know about BECMA, they have technical assistance programs that can help you get the accounting you need, can help you create your business plan, can help you get the legal services you need, the HR services you need. They give you those services for free because they get funding from grants and federal and state programs. Am I right, BECMA? All right. And so you got a great resource over there. As a member, if you join their membership, you will get this information trickled down to you automatically. If you join the coalition, you get this information trickled down to you automatically. So expand your networks, that's important. So all of you being here is a first great step to where you need to go. Because you stick with me, I'm gonna grow you, because I wanna grow too. Yeah, I wanna grow too, so stick with me, stick with BECMA, Small Business Strong. We are partners with the Boston Foundation. We have so many foundations in our network and other resources that, guys, you gotta do your research too. And so don't be scared to just step out there and do it. Like, I never thought I would get this job, but I went for it and I got it. And so you can do it too. Anything I can do, you can do. So I'm gonna leave that there.
Can you tell us some of these barriers of access?
Absolutely. So we, talking to a lot of our business owners, we were able to identify some of the necessary needs to move forward with just bidding on the contract. Actually, just applying for our certification, we find that that's a barrier within itself. A lot of these small businesses are not aware of the documents that are needed. They could have been in business for 10, 15 years and never had these documents in place. So helping them identify those documents and the resources that are necessary, sending them to the Secretary of the State office. But we also now, with our certified vendors, we have a resource page. And it's actually accessible to anybody, to the public, but it's more so directed to our certified vendors. We are now partnership with LCR, Lawyers for Civil Rights. We also working with Small Business Strong, BECMA, and other predominant agencies that will be providing the necessary resources, funding at the SBA, SCORE. So if you log onto our website, we have a lot of resources that you can connect to, from mentorship, funding, grants, legal services, and by next week we should have Mass Health Connector that will provides health insurance to our small businesses as well, in order for them to move forward with the contracting.
Thank you. I hope everyone is taking notes. This is great information and resources here. So my last question is, as a business leader, what is one thing that you are doing that sets you apart and that you take pride in?
You had to give me the mic. I think I did mention this a little bit before, but I think providing opportunities for Black and brown faces in this industry, it is very difficult. And honestly, I think it goes beyond just having them be in our space, but it also provides them experience that they can go in other places, right? There's all these other breweries and stuff that are looking for brewers or looking for people in hospitality and coming through from us, like you have that experience that normally they probably wouldn't get a chance at anywhere else because of they don't have experience. I'm very proud of that, and I'm very proud of the fact that, you know, us as owners are providing representation as we do things. Like we don't walk into the space with our, you know, face up in the air, like we don't touch that. Like we see something on the ground, we'll pick it up. Y'all know this, y'all who've been in the place have seen, you probably couldn't even tell who was an owner because we're all working hard to make this work. And I think it's important for people to see that as they get jobs and come through places with us, it's like, you are a team member first, right? We don't treat you as a very flat organization. We treat you with respect, and we look for good people, and we will provide you with those opportunities that, you know, you could potentially use in other places, or you can just stay with us and be awesome. So I'm very proud of that.
Thank you.
I think what sets me apart is I do have the policy and advocacy background at being a city councilor, but I also have a passion for this work. I am a black woman. I am a black small business owner, and I went through the same barriers that a lot of you out here are going through or have been through and made it forward. And I think another thing is that I'm not scared to share my story, and I'm not scared to share the resources. I think that is something that we have to do better for each other. We have to share what we learn, we have to share what we know, and the partnership of the coalition is amazing. It is amazing. The partners that we have are really thinking of innovative ways to make sure that startups and mid-level businesses scale and grow. They really, really are committed. We really, really are committed to closing the racial wealth gap and making sure that all families and all small businesses can grow and be sustainable and take care of their families and just create wealth, create generational wealth. I mean, that's what it's all about. We all just want to take care of our families. And I think having that passion and commitment, this is what I prayed for. This is what I always wanted to do. And so having that passion and commitment, I think, is what sets me apart. I will travel to Brockton. I will travel wherever I need to go to get the information out, to communicate, and to make sure we are all included together. So if we can work together and share our experience together, and, you know, people are not fighting over these little resources, but we really are sitting next to each other and looking at each other and say, I hope you all succeed, because that's what I hope for all of you sitting in the audience today. I think that that passion is what really sets me apart.
And I'm almost going to piggyback off of what you said. I feel like what sets me apart is that I am passionate about what I do, but not only that, I stay true to who I am, where I come from, the experience that I've had, the people that from my environment, being born to a disabled woman and helping the disabled community, having a father who's came from the South and no education, but was able to build a car from scratch and wasn't able to obtain a business or hold a business on his own. From being in the underserved community where there are shops and beauty salons and consultant services that kind of start and never make it to that 5 years, and providing the necessary resources for them to either start back up again or to get them to move forward. Taking part in obtaining the knowledge that I have in order to be able to share with folks like you guys. With my family, with friends. I have folks that call me on the phone that need the necessary resources. I'm like, oh my gosh, I didn't even know I know that, but pick my brain, right? I've worked in agencies. I've walked down the street in my community and there was a business owner who owned a tax agency who was Asian, but because he couldn't connect with the community, I went in and was able to manage the office in order to be able to market and outreach in order to get him more clientele. So I think for the most part, again, I'm very proud of who I am. I'm very proud of where I came from, very proud of what I have and what I don't have, but for the most part, more so proud of what I can provide, the information, the effort that I put in to be able to make sure that someone else can succeed. It benefits not only just a family, but a community.
Thank you.
But I'm gonna kind of share something with you. My parents were born in Portugal, and then sometime during their life, they moved to Venezuela, where they had this beautiful baby girl. That's me. So I'm trilingual, and I've been here many more years than not. And for that, I'm very, very grateful. So I was going to start by actually talking a little bit about the MASSHire Workforce Board. but Jason Hunter kind of touched a little bit on that. So I'm just going to move on. I'm probably running out of time a little bit, but what I wanted to say about the MASSHire system, it's just going to be really short. In a nutshell, we have two customers, employers and job seekers. And in a nutshell, our job is to make sure that employers have a workforce that has the skills that they're looking for. And then, on the other hand, we want to make sure that the job seekers are qualified to take on the jobs that you employers have available to you. Now, as Christine mentioned earlier, we do have quite a bit of funds available for training purposes. But I'm going to start off with your immediate needs, employers. What are your current needs, immediate needs? Most of them would say, I need people. For that, we have the career centers. We have a representative of one of the career centers, one here in Brockton, Simone, she's right there. And I'm gonna make this again, in the interest of time, I'm gonna kind of make it really fast, but at the career center, they can help you by posting any jobs that you have. They can pre-screen your candidates. They can have job fairs for you. They can connect you with students that will be graduating from several training programs, including technical schools, community colleges. They can walk through assisting you with on-the-job training. This is really something that if you've never taken advantage of, you want to hear more about that. You really want to speak with Simone about the on-the-job training. Now, for incumbent workers, what do we have? Christine mentioned some of the programs that we currently have. Workforce Training Fund is there to train your own workers, retrain them. We have the Express Grant, we have the Safety Grant, but I'm going to spend a little bit more time is on the pipeline grants. Again, I'm here, I thought I was going to have like 45 minutes to talk, and I'm trying to squish this down to 4.5 minutes. But on the pipeline grants, as Christine mentioned from the president of ComCorp, thanks to the ARPA funds and some surplus funds, we do have the Governor Baker set aside over $200 million for training programs. And I would like at this point, oops, my business cards are falling all over the place, but there's one here. So one of the grants I'm going to be talking about is the Competitiveness Trust Fund. We have copies. Copies of what I have in here right now. I'm going to put them on the table. But what I'd like you to kind of pay attention to is on the second page, Governor Baker made an announcement on Friday of about 9-10 companies that were awarded some funds from this Competitiveness Trust Fund. And I decided to make a copy of his announcement because what I'm hoping is that when you look at the awards that were made, that you can possibly just kind of connect with some of the positions, some of the applications that were proposed and were awarded. So I'm hoping that you read them. This is, again, it's not too complicated. This is not the full application, it's just like a snapshot of 9 different applications and how much money was awarded. But by you reading them, you may just say, you know what, I think this is exactly what my company needs. This is exactly what it's going to get me off the hump. On the first page, what I decided to do is just put on here who is eligible to apply for these grants. At the bottom of the first page, I highlighted ComCorp's website, where you're going to have more information about these funds. Okay, so you can copy that link that I have at the bottom, and then just go on ComCorp's website. And I'm also gonna have available this one page, same grant, Competitiveness Trust Fund. The most important information from what I'm showing you right now, ta-da, is my business card. That beautiful baby that was born in Venezuela many months ago, right there. You really want to connect to me. Now this here, and I don't know why I'm losing my voice here, but this also gives you the different industries that you can apply for. So again, it's a little bit of help, but your best bet is either go to ComCorp's website or call that beautiful baby here. So in addition to these grants, there are other grants that we will be looking at your support. Technical high schools all over Massachusetts are applying for what we call the CTI grants. They are the applicants, but we need employers to kind of drive us, let us know what it is that we need in terms of what is it that you want us to teach at the technical high schools. And I see that Oscar is like, go ahead. One quick question, has anyone ever heard about any of these grants that I mentioned, lightly mentioned? Express, safety, yeah. She has. Okay, I'm really glad to see that not too many hands went up, because you definitely want to take this home with you. Go to ComCorp's website. I really thought I was going to have much more time to talk to you about every single grant, but go to ComCorp's website, take these 2 forms with you, I'll have them on the table. I also have a little write-up on the Express program that was mentioned earlier. But again, I think if nothing else, please take this one with you.